Here's some things how you know if it's an immune suppression going on or an immune awakening going on. And obviously, this is critical because most shingles does mean an immune suppression. But when it shows up when your body's in major overload, when it's in major stress, it's probably going to mean an immune suppression, especially if you're not taking care of your body. If you haven't been doing the work like I had already been doing, then yes, it's most likely an immune suppression going on. However, there's another version to this, and it's called immune reconstitution. So your immune system is waking up. Your immune system finally wakes up from a long period of suppression, and latent viruses can reactivate as a sign that your T cell immunity is coming back online. This is documented, for example, in HIV patients starting antiretroviral therapy. Their immune system recovers and shingles flares during that recovery window. Are you tired of the overwhelm and the nonstop anxiety and ready for simple, doable steps to beat burnout, support your body naturally, and process the heavy emotions through a biblical lens? Then you're in the right place. I'm Cassie, wife, mom of 5 home-birthed babies, and a trauma-informed women's health coach who crawled out of deep burnout myself. I learned how to rebuild my energy and my identity from the ground up. If you're ready for steadier energy, emotional stability, and joy that doesn't evaporate by noon, then grab your not coffee, take that one quiet breath you're going to get for the day, and let's dive in. Because if you're waiting for a perfect moment, you might as well pencil it in for never. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Christian Wellness for Weary Women. I'm your host, Cassie Hutton, and I am so thankful that you are here listening to what I have to say on a Tuesday. I hope that you had a really good weekend. Last weekend was July 4th, and it was a really good weekend for us, celebrating 250 years of America's freedom. We also celebrated my 4-year-old's birthday. My 4-year-old is truly a godsend. She is the one that I had her, and then I went into burnout. And she was a complete surprise to us, but she has been such a blessing. She is our little girl that she gets mad, but she doesn't stay mad for long. I have 2 kids that are like that. They get mad and they don't get mad for very long. They get over it really quickly. And it brings me such a relief as a mother whose central nervous system has been haywire for 4 years. They're the ones that I can still take a deep breath, even when they are fighting, arguing, mad at me, arguing with me, mad at somebody else, whatever it might be. The 4-year-old Harper, if she's in trouble, she is so funny. She'll look at us, she'll kind of know she's in trouble, and then she smiles and starts laughing. And maybe it's her nervous way of dealing with it, but it totally flips the whole situation on its head. And I love it. I actually love it. And it's really hard to get onto her and put her in timeout or make her be in trouble for too long. All right, so let's get into today's episode. Episode 106, Retracing Symptoms, the Healing Crisis, Why Your Recovery Feels Like a Relapse. So a lot of times you hit burnout, you have all of this low cellular energy, and you start to heal, you start taking care of your body, you start doing all of the central nervous system work, you start doing the breath work, you're eating nutritional foods, you're upping your calories, you're giving your body the nutrients that it needs, and then all of a sudden, you start experiencing crazy symptoms again. Your body starts experiencing symptoms that maybe you experienced 15 years ago or 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and you're going like, what is going on? I thought I was doing so much better. Well, just like we take a piece of meat and we put it in the freezer and it has to freeze, meaning it goes in at a certain temperature and then it goes through all of these temperatures to reach freezing point and then into whatever, if you have your freezer set at 0 degrees, it's going to get to that 0 degree point. And then you take it out of the freezer and then it has to get to room temperature and unthaw. It's going to go through all of those temperature settings again. So this is a lot of times like what the body does whenever it begins to heal. And so here's my question for you. Let's start with this. What if the symptoms you're experiencing right now aren't proof that you have failed, but they're proof that you're actually healing? So we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to share some of my story and what happened to me back in January, where I realized, oh, this is actually me healing and my immune system waking up again. So sometimes there's tension in the body when it begins to restore energy and that cellular function. It begins to have the metabolic capacity to process what it couldn't handle during burnout. And that process looks a lot like relapse. It feels like you've gone backwards. But here, something that I really want to point out, and I love, I've mentioned the GAPS diet a little bit here on this podcast, but not very much. But the GAPS diet, it stands for Gut and Physiology Syndrome. It was developed by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, and it was based off of a carb-specific diet, but she took it a little bit further into really pulling out carb specifics that the body can't process, but also adding back in a lot of foods that are really good for gut healing. And I read this book. It's probably been over a year now. Yeah, it's been right at a year when I read this book, and loved every word that she had to say in it. It made so much sense to me. And then on top of that, I was actually doing the GAPS diet for myself and still try to follow a lot of those same principles from her book. But she points out that people who never get sick actually have a suppressed immune system, because a healthy immune response is when your body encounters an infectious agent, it mounts a defense, and then it fights it off and it recovers. But if you never get sick at all, that might not be a very healthy picture like we think that it is. So a lot of times we say, we don't get sick. I have a healthy immune system. I guess I have a strong immune system, whatever that might be. But if you actually never get sick, it could mean that your immune system is actually very suppressed to the point that it's not even recognizing threats anymore. So during healing, when you begin to take care of your body, that immune awakening can look alarming, but it's actually not a failure of your body. It is your body saying, I now have enough resources to fight. And this is so important. I really want to say this. It really has nothing to do with this episode, but as a little snippet and a side note, this is why it's so important not to give you or your kids something like Tylenol or Advil that suppresses a fever, because fevers actually kill the virus, and viruses that don't get fully cleared stay dormant in the body, in your nervous system. They hide in your tissues, and they can contribute to all kinds of chronic issues like cancer down the road. This is why you can do like a Nagelese test to see your viral count. And it's actually a very important test to do if you are looking at possibilities of cancer and things like that in the body, because you can see this test that's a deep threat to the body, because viruses, especially if the body doesn't have the immune system to suppress the viral outbreak in your body, and they're just sitting there, it's terrible. It's a terrible thing for the body. This is why fevers are actually so important. Okay, so let's talk about exactly what retracing is. Retracing is your body healing in reverse order. Just like we talked about the thawing out, you can also think of it like rewinding a video of your burnout. So the most recent symptoms are going to clear first. Then you move backwards through the timeline of your burnout. So old patterns, old physical symptoms, even old emotional imprints are going to be surfaced to be cleared. So this is so important. Man, it's so important. When you reach burnout, it's like your body comes to a point. This is why I think a lot of women in menopause think that it's their hormones, but it's actually their body saying, I'm done dealing with all the crap that you've put me through. I'm forcing you to deal with it now because I'm screaming at you. I'm screaming in your face to the point that you can't not pay attention to it anymore. And women in midlife seem to hit this point a lot of times where all of that surfaces to the top and they're forced to deal with it. And so it's also this, you can look up Herring's law of cure to explain it on a deeper level, because during burnout, you have things like mineral depletion. And when you have mineral depletion, your cellular energy is going to crash. Your nervous system is going to lock into survival mode. And so things begin to shut down. Your body begins to preserve energy in order to keep you alive, whether you have viral outbreaks or not. And so when you begin to take care of your body, when you restore minerals and cellular function through your healing protocols, through the supplements that you know to take, that's when you see your mitochondria start producing energy again, because your cells are starting to restore themselves. Your cells are starting to communicate again. You have the hydration. Your sodium and potassium are working properly in order to actually get nutrients into the cell so that your cells can carry the nutrients to the rest of the body where it needs to go. And that energy is what gives your nervous system the capacity to actually process what's been frozen all these years to move through the reversal process. So I want you to let that sink in for a minute, what it might actually look like for you to go through this reversal process. Think about all the symptoms you've experienced in your life and what could, I'm not saying that it absolutely will, but your most recent symptoms are going to heal first. And then as time goes on, you will see the full reversal of what you've tried so hard to heal. So let me share a little bit about my story and what happened to me. So I'm going to start from the beginning and make it really short, but then I'm going to elaborate on some of the things that happened in January. So 4 years ago, I had our fourth baby, Harper, that I talked about at the beginning of this episode. 8 weeks postpartum, I found myself having irregular bleeding. Didn't know what those bleeds were. I didn't know if they were a period. I didn't know if my body was confused. I just knew, like, I am experiencing this and it's not normal. I've never had irregular cycles. I've never bled like this before. It was light bleeding sometimes. It was spotting sometimes. I would spot for 3 days. I would have light bleeding for 9 days, and then it would happen every 2 to 3 weeks. It was just very unpredictable. And that was the worst part about it. I didn't know if I was going to start bleeding at a ball game. I didn't know if I was going to start bleeding at home. I didn't know. And then I would get super angry at my body. And that's when all of that emotional junk, the emotional imprints began to surface, and I had to start dealing with them. About 6 months later, I found a practitioner to work with, and she offered HTMA testing that I now offer, hair tissue mineral analysis. And it made so much sense to me because we were going to be looking at the minerals in our body. And I understood that our bodies are made from the dust. And so it clicked in my brain. I was like, this is definitely the avenue. It made financial sense to me. We could afford it. I wasn't spending a buttload of money up front, and I could pay her monthly. It just made sense all the way around. And so that's what I did. And 3 months into it, I got a regular cycle back, even though I was breastfeeding she was 9 or 10 months old at that time. And lo and behold, because a few different factors came into play, but I got pregnant. And so I stopped breastfeeding and went through this pregnancy in burnout, but I was taking care of myself. I was eating a lot more calories each day. I was taking all of my supplements. I was doing the best that I could in what I knew to do. And so have this baby in December of 2023. And still my energy levels were up and down. My mood swings were up and down, even though I was pregnant and not experiencing PMS type symptoms. And honestly, it was a relief when I got pregnant because I was like, I can escape this PMS pendulum swing every single month and what I've been going through for the past 6 or 7 months after Harper was born. And although I still experienced a lot of emotional ups and downs during that pregnancy. And after he was born, I thought, okay, maybe my body's healed enough. Maybe I've taken good enough care of it that I won't experience this again. Not only did I experience it again, I felt like it lasted even longer because I was fully taking care of my body before he was born and after he was born. And I still experienced irregular bleeding for 7 months after he was born. And that was a lot because it came with all of the emotional baggage that PMS brought me, or PMDD, if you heard me a couple of episodes ago talk about PMS on crack and what women go through when they're actually experiencing more of a dysphoria type emotions right before their period. So the emotions got better, especially right before my period. Some of the symptoms during my period, like heavy cramps, got better during my period. And so I tried a weight loss program there for a little bit because I had gained about 30 pounds and had not been able to lose it since I had the baby. And I really wanted to lose this weight. It was terrible. I had these like muffin tops, love handles. Certain shorts I couldn't wear anymore, certain bottoms I couldn't wear anymore, and it was just gross. I was like, I do not want this. I've never had this before. And here I am taking care of my body, and yet my body's gaining the weight. So something is not adding up here. I did that workout program and cut down my calories for about 6 weeks and experienced PMS all over again. It was very scary because I spiraled into the dysphoria once again. Husband was gone that weekend. And I was like, I can't do this. Cutting calories for me does not work. My body does not like it, and I will not do that again. So, cut that out. I still continued to try and work out a little bit, but I kind of just gave up on it altogether. And then I found the GAPS diet, and I wanted to really focus in on some things that I've experienced since childhood. So, I've experienced breaking out in hives when I get cold urticaria since I was a very young girl, and it's very uncomfortable. And so I really wanted to focus in on that. And there were a couple of other things. I can't even recall what those were at the moment. But I thought, you know what? I want to do this. And so I set my mind to it and I fully dove into the GAPS diet. And I was very strict on it. I don't want to say strict because it wasn't hard. I wasn't restricting myself, but I stuck to Dr. Natasha's parameters of the diet very closely. I did not cheat on the diet. I did not cheat on the diet for a full 3 months. And at the end of that 3 months, at the end of 6 weeks, in fact, I had lost 15 plus pounds and continued to lose. At the end of the 3 months, I had 1 month where I was steady energy and steady mood all month long. And I was so relieved. I was so happy. I was so proud of myself. And I just can remember that feeling of, wow, I have not felt the steady energy and steady mood for a solid month. And I can't tell you how long. It was amazing. And so when my energy levels went up, I knew, I was like, healing is happening. I can't believe healing is happening. This is amazing. I have fought for this and fought for this and fought for this. And I have tried and I have tried and I have tried. And now it's finally working. It's finally coming through. I'm finally seeing the changes. Mind you, I had stopped breastfeeding at this point. I wasn't pregnant anymore. And so my body actually had the capacity to start replenishing. It wasn't just constantly giving out anymore. And so that's a big deal. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, your body's going to maintain, but it's probably not going to be able to heal. And so it's a big deal if you're wanting to get pregnant, and especially if you're wanting to breastfeed, because breastfeeding takes more cellular energy than a pregnancy. So if you're wanting to do those things, it's extremely important to make sure you are replenished before you go into a pregnancy. It's just going to make a world of difference in everything you do, but especially the postpartum time. And so December rolls around, January rolls around after I've done the GAPS diet. And in January, I broke out in shingles and I was so devastated. I thought, what is going on? First of all, it took me weeks to finally diagnose myself and realize, oh my gosh, this is shingles. I thought it was a kidney infection. Well, first of all, it started out as I thought it was period cramps. Then I thought it was a kidney infection. Then I was told I had pulled a muscle. I actually went to the doctor and they were like, no, I think you've just strained a muscle. And the muscle relaxers did nothing for me. I was to the point that I couldn't sleep at night because that's whenever it would really flare up. And lo and behold, that didn't work. And a few days later, after I tried taking the muscle relaxers, that's when the scabs started showing up on my torso. And I recognized, oh, okay, this is shingles. This is actually something totally different. And what do I do about this? Because I know that shingles means a super suppressed immune system. Shingles can mean that your body is not handling stress very well. Shingles can mean that you are in a body in overwhelm. And I thought, what in the world? I mean, I had started a few programs where I was getting up early and trying to do a lot of that work before my kids get up. I was trying to push through a lot of things. And so there were some things that were on my mind, causing some internal stress each and every day. And so I chalked it up to that. I was like, okay, that must be what's going on. I have pushed too hard. My body wasn't ready to handle it. And so I really need to take a step back and slow down. And I was talking this out with some other practitioners, and she suggested, hey, maybe it's some retracing patterns going on, because she said, doesn't make sense. I said, well, yes and no. I've been a little bit internally stressed because of this, and this that I've been doing. But on the other hand, my energy levels have been so good. Since October, I have had steady energy. I've had the desire and drive to enjoy life again. So, I mean, not really. It doesn't really make sense. Not only that, the previous HTMA test that I had gotten was one of my best ACE tests yet. It was showing so much improvement, including a heal pattern, which shows that there's real breakthrough going on, not only in your physical symptoms, but emotionally. You're beginning to use your voice again. You're beginning to stand up for yourself again, those kinds of things. And so when she then suggested, hey, it could be some retracing going on, I was like, okay, I have not considered that. Let me think about that. Let me see if that's really maybe what's going on with me. And so here's some things. This is what I want to get to know whether your shingles, let's talk about shingles in particular, but let's talk about retracing markers too. How you know if it's immune suppression going on or an immune awakening going on. And obviously, this is critical because most shingles does mean an immune suppression. But when it shows up when your body's in major overload, when it's in major stress, and it's probably going to mean an immune suppression, especially if you're not taking care of your body. If you haven't been doing the work like I had already been doing, then yes, it's most likely an immune suppression going on. However, there's another version to this, and it's called immune reconstitution. So your immune system is waking up. Your immune system finally wakes up from a long period of suppression, and latent viruses can reactivate as a sign that your T cell immunity is coming back online. This is documented, for example, in HIV patients starting antiretroviral therapy. Their immune system recovers and shingles flares during that recovery window. So interesting, right? So interesting. That's exactly what I believe was happening to me. And so I'm telling you this to encourage you. Shingles is a terrible thing to go through. It is extremely painful. It breaks out in so many different ways. I had one friend who said she thought she had plantar fasciitis after her pregnancy, and turns out it was shingles. I mean, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Like, it starts out as you think it's something different. Like, I thought mine was a kidney infection, which made no sense to me. I was like baffled. It's like, there ain't no way I have a kidney infection because I eat clean. Like, there's nothing there that would cause a kidney infection. The only reason I ever got kidney infections, which I had them very bad whenever I was younger, to the point, yeah, almost hospitalized from it. And it felt just like that. It felt just like that. Anyways, so how do you know which one you're in? Your energy, your capacity, and the timeline matter. They matter very much. You need to be paying attention to that. Those are big deals. I have a client right now who traces all of her symptoms back to shingles when they had a major move from California to Texas. And she broke out in shingles once she got here. And a lot of her symptoms haven't improved since that breakout. So obviously for her, this was an immune suppression going on. This was major stress, overwhelm, and overload. And her body is reacting to the immune system not being able to take care of the virus. So if shingles shows up during burnout or during a major stress crash, that's immune suppression. Energy's down, capacity is gone. It feels like relapse. It resolves slowly, chronically, or not at all. If shingles shows up while your energy is steady or improving, this might be an immune reconstitution. Your nervous system has resources. Your capacity is there. It resolves in weeks, not months, unless there's retracing happening. So in my case, shingles outbreak, while my energy remained stable, that was a big sign for me. I was like, okay, my energy levels are not crashing. I'm actually not experiencing anything like burnout. The only other thing that I experienced was not being able to take a deep breath. And that was a big deal because I also felt like that was a retracing symptom because I experienced not being able to take a deep breath when I was in high school. I was very stressed out. If you know some of my story, I had an abortion when I was 17. And so this caused tons of stress, internal stress. It was trauma. It was isolation. It was guilt and shame. And so that caused me to that's how the anxiety manifested, not being able to take a long, slow, deep breath, a satisfying breath. And so it felt like I was suffocating all the time. And so this showed up when shingles, just about the time that shingles was getting over with, maybe, or about right in the middle of it. I was like, golly, I mean, it was daily, all the time. And then it got to a point where I could even just kind of become aware of I'm breathing normal. And then all of a sudden I wouldn't be able to breathe normal. And so it was a big deal. Like it's even hitting me right now just thinking about it. And so this went on for months. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to be able to get this back under control where I can feel like I can actually take a deep, satisfying breath again. And I realized, hey, this is another retracing symptom. This is my body waking things up again. My body is processing the trauma. My body is working back through that rewinding system. And so this helped me to kind of gauge where I was at. Like, I'm about in the high school years, like, which is good, which is good. This is a lot of retracing that has happened in these 4 years of me trying to heal my body again. So while it sucks going through it and feeling like I can't breathe ever, it was also encouraging. And so again, I recognized that this was not immune collapse, but instead my immune system waking up. And this is where I would ask you to discern your own story so that you can determine which category you're actually in. Because even though a lot of people are taking care of their bodies, you can really be doing more damage than good. If you are supplementing the wrong supplements, if you are working with the wrong practitioner, if you are supplementing and not changing your diet, if you're still eating foods that are, quote, clean and healthy, yet your body's reacting to, if you're not working through all of the emotional factors that you need to work through, all of the childhood trauma, all of the old belief patterns, all of the anger that you've held on to through the years, if you're not working through that, then your symptoms might get worse and the supplements and the nutrition might not do anything for you. If you're not doing basic things like moving your body daily, going out into the sunlight and getting plenty of sunshine each day, getting plenty of sleep, going to bed at a decent hour and waking up at a decent hour. All of these things can play a huge role in your healing if you're not just doing the very basic things of living life the way that God intended us to. Here's your discernment question, which I feel like I've already asked you plenty of questions, but when this symptom flared, did my energy stay stable? Did I lose my capacity? That is your North Star. Which of those two questions? Did my energy stay stable or did I lose my capacity? Did you begin to spiral whenever these symptoms started happening again? So retracing versus relapsing, this is a recap of everything that we've talked about here. So the difference between retracing and relapsing, when you're going through healing, you'll know that you're relapsing if your energy crashes, with the symptoms become chronic, the urgency and the overwhelm return. So is your body processing forward or is your body collapsing backwards? And healing isn't straight up for everybody. This is not necessarily going to be the one single path that every single person or woman that I'm speaking to is going to follow. So this is where you have to discern for yourself if you really feel like what you're doing is working or if it's actually putting you back and causing you to collapse. So what matters is that when symptoms resurface during genuine healing, your body is saying, I have enough resources now to face this. It's giving you strength to get through it and not spiraling you back down into the abyss that you once were in. Okay. So again, I talked about the Overwhelm Detox Planner on my last episode. I don't talk about it much, but it's my freebie that I offer, and it walks you through how to detox the overwhelm in your life. And so it helps you to pinpoint certain times during the month when overwhelm might be worse. It helps you to pinpoint maybe the who or the what or the where so that you can take control of the things that you can actually control in your life. There are some things that you're not going to be able to control, but this resource is going to help you pinpoint what you can control and what you can't so that you can begin to take some things off of your plate so that you can rebuild capacity again. Okay. Go download that. It's in the show notes. It's there for you, and it's completely free. And then you'll be on my email list so that you won't miss a single episode that comes out or what's going on and what I'm offering to you guys each and every month or each and every week. So that's what I have for you this week. Thank you guys for being here today, and I will see you next week on the podcast. Bye. Hey ladies, I hope today's episode hit you where you needed it. If it did, take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who's burnt out, praying for relief, and tired of feeling like God's strength is for everyone but her. And if you haven't yet, leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more women get the support they've been begging God for. Now I'm off to make my adrenal cocktail and do the slow, steady work that pulled me out of survival mode. I'll meet you back here next Tuesday for another episode. Bye!